I was wrong, and I felt the need to make this video as a follow-up to the mango situation that I have covered, because I feel that it's important to get this information out because I didn't include it in my first video, and I didn't know that it existed at this point. Now, what we're talking about today has to do with the mango situation. There was a Ludwig party that he was hosting. It was called Mario Kart. A bunch of streamers got drunk, played Mario Kart, the new one, out on the Switch 2, and this happened at that event.
See, we're not drunk, guys. Yeah, we're not drunk. But Mango, on the other hand. No. He's humping toes. No.
End the stream. End it.
End the stream, Mango says.
End the stream.
Now, I'll link to my previous video, it's up here, but essentially in 20 seconds or less, Mango, very well-known Melee player, has been drinking for quite some time. It's pretty much a part of his personality. Well, he got really wasted at this and started dry humping around women's heads and, essentially sexual harassment. And he's been completely ruined for it. His org dropped him, his organization, Cloud9. He was also banned from multiple Melee tournament events, so he won't be going to those, and is essentially taking a break and stepping away from all of it to work on his alcohol problem. But that leads into why am I making this video today? And that has to do with some clips that I hadn't seen previously that have come to light that have kind of changed my perspective on things that happened over this night. Now, I need to preface this, and I need you to hear me. I am not defending Mango. Mango has gone on record to say nobody should be defending him, and his actions are inexcusable. You just can't do that. If you are known as someone who drinks a ton of alcohol, you drink a ton of alcohol, and you act a fool, this is a pattern of behavior. He's been banned off of Twitch for passing out drunk. The guy has had an alcohol problem since he was known on the scene. There are YouTube videos documenting his career in Smash, and they know him as a guy who drinks and is really good at Smash. Like, that's been his identity for better or for worse. But in my original video, I was saying some things along the lines of it is completely his fault and utterly his fault that he got into this mess. And admittedly, I think there's a bit more nuance to it than just that. The way I want to start this next segment off, I'm going to show you how Ludwig responded since this was his event. I want to show you guys how he responded to, all these clips coming out and him like dry humping all these people. This is the clip that was made when he talked about this the day after all this happened.
My main goal at any event is that the people who are participating have a good time. Like, that is like number one, the most important factor which determines a good event. People who show up have a good time. That's what I care about. And I dropped the ball yesterday. I mean, to be real, I dropped the ball. And that's like ultimately my fault, right? That's on me. That's my event. That's my job to do that. So I feel really bad about that. And, I reached out to anyone who I felt might have felt uncomfortable and talked to them. But also, and I already told Mango this, I'm no longer inviting Mango to Mogul Moves event. Because it's a privilege to go to an event.
And so that's, the response that I included in my video. But then I'd also shown this clip here. And this clip was showing Mango coming up and like running his hands through Emily's hair. And Ludwig was essentially just kind of pushing him off and trying to keep him away from Emily because he was being weird. And so for me, tied with his response the next day, it just seemed like, everyone was drinking. It got out of hand for Mango. He started, harassing the women. And so he was like, you can't be doing that. And he bans it. That's just kind of it. And so we're left with, it's up to Mango. You shouldn't be drinking like that. End of story. Not disagreeing with that. But it doesn't really paint the full picture. And I want to make sure that you guys have a bit more of that picture, which includes Ludwig actively advocating for Mango to drink more and more and more. Here's the first clip of him cheering on Mango for getting a 0.25 on the breathalyzer.
We gotta do PB! Guys, Mango just blew a 0.25!
And then after that, they do another celebratory woohoo for him reaching a blood alcohol content of 0.32.
Mango just blew a 0.32. That is my go. Hey, everybody! Mango just blew a 0.32!
To be clear, that is dangerous. That's not good. That's not good. That's dangerous.
Let's up those numbers!
Now, to help you guys understand what that 0.32 blood alcohol content means, let's go ahead and take a look over here. So this is a diagram trying to show you, if you had this many drinks and you weighed this much, that is probably going to be your blood alcohol content. If we take a look down here, you're gonna see that we're having these indicators here, and then the one that says possible death, the red, is when you start reaching a blood alcohol content of 0.27 or above. And Mango is at 0.32. And at that point, that is when Ludwig was like, let's get those numbers up and just, hyping it up. Now, again, like I said, Mango is responsible for his actions, but I want us to fully understand where he was at that point with that much alcohol in his system, and also like the support that he was getting, the egging on, and I would say enabling that was being provided by Ludwig. So I think it'd be useful. I saw some tweets about it, but I figured let me go on to alcohol.org to go over what to expect at a level like this. Now, keep in mind, Mango does have a tolerance because he's been drinking for a very long time. But I think it's still useful to go over what is expected at around that range. So even leaving into 0.2 to 0.29, confusion, feeling dazed, and disorientation are common. Sensations of pain will change, so if you fall and seriously hurt yourself, you may not notice, and you're less likely to do anything about it. Nausea and vomiting are more likely to occur, and the gag reflex will be impaired, which could cause choking, etc., etc. So not really good. And you also have a very good chance to black out at this point. And then at the 0.3, 0.39 mark, which he was at, it says at this point, you may be unconscious and your potential for death increases, along with a loss of understanding. At this BAC, you'll also experience severe increases in your heart rate, irregular breathing, and may have a loss of bladder control. Editor Connor here, I can't believe I missed on this, but at that next level, 0.40% and over, this level of BAC may put you into a coma or cause sudden death because your heart or breathing will suddenly stop. So this is the level that he was getting close to, like 0.32. He is 0.08% away from that. And they were actively cheering him on, or more specifically, like Ludwig was like, get those numbers up, which would have been leading to this, potentially like genuinely life-threatening percentage of blood alcohol. Now, admittedly, I don't know how much a tolerance buildup is going to impact this number or like his, chances of dying when you get this high up. But I felt like I really should be touching on that because that is what they were saying. Like, let's get those numbers up. And I think something that not a lot of people have brought up here is that you aren't subscribed yet. What are you doing? Come on, we're like balls deep into this video. If you didn't know, consider subscribing. But even if that's not what you're interested in, just checking out for a follow-up. If you could like the video, it really helps out with the algorithm, pushes it out to more people. If you think this is useful information to get out there, but I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Now, Ludwig actually addressed the clips of him cheering on Mango as his BAC kept going up with the breathalyzer, and this is what he had to say.
This is from one of my producers, Liza, but we did cut off Mango on alcohol about an hour before stream ended. But I mean, he went into it really drunk. And I also personally apologize. I look back, it's very cringy now, but I was like applauding like him getting new PBs with his blood alcohol, which is like, super poor taste, especially on hindsight. Obviously, that wasn't the intention. The intention is similar to when we did the Doug challenge with alcohol, where we're getting new PBs on the breathalyzers, but it definitely looks way different on hindsight. So I felt bad.
And I appreciate that he's apologizing. I think that we're kind of straying away from kind of what that was though, which felt more like enabling. This is kind of the main thing I have an issue with. And I'm not, I'm not like, oh, Ludwig should be apologizing. Ludwig should be doing this or that. I want to make sure that we have the full picture going forward. I think there were multiple factors at play with what happened and like how Mango ended up getting to that point. And I think addressing that, having the full picture is worth it to people viewing it and, people that end up enjoying the content from Mango or Ludwig or anything like that. And funnily enough, one of his stream viewers actually brings up that, hey, maybe it wasn't a good idea to let someone that has, substance abuse issues into an event where you're getting absolutely plastered.
It's not the best idea to have someone with substance abuse problems participate. Again, Mango's participated in 2 other Bureau Card events. This ain't the first one. Like we've done it. Like I have something to go off. So I think what you're saying is true, but like I've done it twice with no problem. So there's no reason I should think there'd be a problem the third time. And I personally am not like speculating. I've asked Mango in the past if he has if he's alcoholic, like straight up, and he always says no. Now, like I think ultimately you just gotta. I've been taking him at his word. That's his own relationship with alcohol that he has to figure out. Like that's not on. That is his relationship with alcohol that he has to figure out.
So I kind of agree. He had done this twice with Mango, so he expected, there shouldn't be an issue this third time. I don't really agree with the logic there, being that they're shooting for personal bests. Like you're entering newfound territory if you're getting drunk with someone and reaching those levels. But the thing that specifically irks me about this clip is right after that, where he's talking about Mango saying that he's not an alcoholic, that Ludwig has asked him multiple times and he said that he isn't. He goes on to say, you know, that's your relationship with alcohol, you know, not for me to judge, but also Ludwig admits in clips throughout the night and literally calls Mango an alcoholic. Like he says straight up, yeah, Mango's an alcoholic, and starts explaining why he's able to drink as much as he did. And so it kind of juxtaposes what he's saying right here.
Mango is like an alcoholic. Mango can drink 30 beers and act the same he does off no beers. He's a machine of a man.
He said he had 7 beers already today.
If you ask him how many beers he's had lifetime, it's probably above 10,000. He's the 2-time champion. He's never lost.
So right there at the very end, you heard her say, like, aren't you enabling him? It was very quiet. And he goes, no, he's the 2-time champion. So Ludwig describes Mango on his own account as an alcoholic. So playing this game about, well, you know, it's his relationship with this stuff, I don't really buy that, especially with Mango's extensive history with drinking. I think the writing's pretty much on the walls there, and I think he knows that, which is why he was saying that to the other streamers there. Okay, so I don't know where I'm throwing this in the video. This is after I finished recording. I went and had dinner, and I was just kind of thinking about this more. And I wanted to show another clip from his kind of like follow-up response after a couple of days. In this, he's talking about how his dad was an alcoholic and that he died due to his alcohol addiction.
I don't talk about it sincerely too often. I obviously, like, you guys know this about me, but my dad had a serious problem with alcohol, and his rock bottom was death. You know, candidly, that's what the rock bottom for him was, is he never got the better of it. It got the better of him. And his life was like, he was 40, he was 40s. He died at 44 years old, 43 years old, excuse me. Young. Right, I'm very close, you know, relatively to the age
feel too bad.
that he died at. You know, I've talked to Mango in the past. Like, I've asked him probably 4 times, 5 times, point blank, are you an alcoholic? And every time he's like, no, I'm not, and has gone months without drinking. So like, I've taken him at face value, but like clearly it's like a problem. And so this is his rock bottom. Hopefully it's his rock bottom. Hopefully it's his rock bottom, and he bounces back.
So I don't know, that feels kind of insane. Like, to talk about the fact that you lost your father, which is terrible, that he lost his dad to alcohol addiction, and to go from that to also recognizing that, yeah, Mango has a problem. This guy said in defense of like, we didn't know that he was going to act like this, is that he's been at 2 Beerio Kart events before this one. Like, if you were acknowledging to other people in the room at this event that, you know, the most recent one, that Mango is an alcoholic, like that is what he said to those streamers, I feel like that is an insane like lapse in judgment. Like I don't know, the cognitive dissonance of that. I don't even think that's the right word. I'm just throwing out buzzword. It doesn't add up. Like, he has this deeply personal experience about losing his father to this, and he's not, you know, giving any respect to how serious this can get. And it just seems like he's completely ignoring that in terms of his behavior. He will, in other events too, whip out a breathalyzer and have people compete to get a higher BAC. And maybe specifically, it's not a good idea to be inviting a guy who you like clearly recognize as someone that has a substance issue with alcohol. And that's not to say like I'm expecting him to say something about this or do anything about it, but it's just like, it's like going from talking about this really serious thing about this personal experience he's had with this kind of issue. It's just not adding up with how he was acting with Mango and how he has acted, bringing him to multiple Beerio Kart events. Again, I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this, but yeah, it feels weird. And then we have this clip of Cinna saying, hey, someone needs to get Mango water, and they tell him that they gave him another beer instead.
Give Mango water! Look at this motherfucker!
I gave him the beer. Yeah, let him know, bro. Let him know.
Dude,
Can we zoom in on that?
Stan is the worst person.
No! I've seen Mango 10 times drunker than this. That's right. That is
Oh, yeah,
true.
he hasn't
That
peaked
is
yet.
very true.
This isn't Pete.
No.
This is like stage 2. Honestly, this is sober.
He's not fighting anyone.
He's trying to fight me.
No, it's different.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
He's trying to fight me.
And so this is the tough part for me. So I'm interested to hear what you guys think. On one hand, it's like, well, yeah, you guys were enabling him through just about, it seems like every step of the way, like cheering him on, things like that. Ludwig, towards like the last hour before the event ended, Apparently they cut him off from drinking, but at that point, you know, it was too late. He already had done what he did. But on one hand, it's like all of these people around him are enabling him and actively encouraging him to keep drinking. And he's getting attention and big thumbs up and people laughing in his face and people handing him alcohol. How is he in that moment, as off his ass as he was, going to know that that's the time to stop? Like, everyone is actively encouraging him to do that. On the other hand, it's like, yeah, they were getting him drunk, but everybody else there was drinking a ton as well, and nobody was going around harassing women. How could they have expected that they gave him more drinks that would equal he's gonna start, you know, dry humping a bunch of women? So I've got a bit of a mixed bag there, but, you know, just something about this is it's feeling weird. Also, let's just make it clear that I think both of these things can be true at the same time. We don't have to pick one or the other. It doesn't just have to be, it is entirely Mango's fault, or it is, you know, the work of Ludwig and the people around him enabling him to drink. I think that both these things can exist and they don't have to cross over to an insane degree. I think it is bad what Mango did and he should be held accountable for acting like that drunk. And also, I think it's important to add the context of Ludwig and everybody else around this guy at that party, outside of like Cinna and another streamer being like, maybe this isn't okay. Outside of them, these people were enabling him and were actively cheering him on and getting him drunker and drunker and pushing him to drink more, I should say. I don't think I had said that yet, like in the way that I just did. So I just wanted to make it clear. I don't want you guys picking one or the other. I think they're both existing at the same time. And so to cap off this part of the video, I have Ludwig kind of talking about an update after when he found out that, you know, C9 had dropped Mango, that he wasn't, you know, potentially getting invited to Melee tournaments, like he was going to get banned from them. He had this to say when one of his viewers said that he had killed Mango.
You killed Mango? Not even a little bit. I don't know if you're memeing or genuine. I feel zero guilt. I don't feel guilty at all. I think this is his own actions because he's his own man. He's an adult man. And me banning him like is the only thing that I did in response because I think it was the correct thing to do.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't think that Ludwig should feel bad for the actions of what Mango did. But I do think that maybe there should be some sort of like, yeah, you know, I probably shouldn't have been cheering him on to drink. Like, I shouldn't have been telling him to keep going higher. I feel like maybe that's kind of clear that Mango had a drinking problem and to just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Maybe it's dumb of me that if I were to be in that position that I would feel bad, that I would feel like I had some say in enabling that. Again, I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on it because I'm a bit mixed, but at the end of the day, the biggest reason that I wanted to make this video is I feel like I didn't fully include all of the context that surrounded the drama. And I just want to make sure if you guys are, you know, interested in what's going on here, that you have the full kind of depth of what has happened going forward if you're going to, you know, form opinions or talk about it. But that's going to bring this video to a close. Again, like I am interested to hear what you guys think because I can't quite make heads or tails of it. It feels weird and I'm not trying to do this like shifting blame game because Mango should be taking full accountability of what he did and he is doing that. But I think that there was more to this situation than just that. That's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll see you later. Peace. Bye.